Hello and welcome to Melt. I'm Suresh Venkat. And yes, it's another conversation about creativity on the show today. We'll meet one of the most respected creatives in the world, Merlee Cruz Jayme. After a highly storied career with networks and agencies, Merlee currently runs the Misfits Camp, a school that helps creatives with disabilities unlock career possibilities. She's also the author of a new book, 10 Talks, 10 Cities, that focuses on her secrets to advertising success. Is there a formula to nurture excellent partner clients? What does the agency of the future look like? And just how did Merlee move from being a silent nun to a creative chairmom? Let's find out as we get ready to melt with Merlee Cruz Jayme, who joins us from her home in Manila. Merlee Jayme, welcome to Melt. I was reading through your book, 10 Talks, 10 Cities, and I was intrigued by the very first line in your book, and you don't explain that line any further in your book. Did you really spend 3 years in silence in a monastery, and why?
Hello. Thank you for inviting me here, Suresh. Yes, that's very much correct. I ran away from home when I was 13. I'm a very curious kid, being creative. I asked a lot of questions about religion, and since I was not getting the right answer, I ran away and went to a monastery up in the mountains. And it wasn't just a few days. I spent 3 years. It was a contemplative religious order, Benedictine. And once you go in, you can't go out unless you finally decide to go out. And I was a minor, so they kept on asking me if I wanted to stay. And I said, until I find my answers, I will stay. But what I didn't know was that it's a completely silent place. There's a rule of silence. And the only time I hear my voice is when we pray. It's Benedictine is ora et labora, so you work and pray. So every single hour you go and pray. But that's it. We don't really talk about anything else. So that's right.
Okay, so you spent 3 years in silence, and you went from that to the noisy world of advertising and communications, where you talk nonstop and you communicate nonstop. Tell us why the
Correct.
shift from absolute silence to nonstop communication.
Because when you're in a world of silence, everything else visually become very loud. So you get to observe things like you've never observed before. When I decided that time's up, I want to go home. I think I've learned everything. I've had my answers. My parents' first worry is how to get back to school. And it wasn't I didn't study anything in the monastery, but because I knew every single name of the plant animals around me, naturally I read very heavy books at 13. My vocabulary expanded. So it was very easy for me to come back, and I finished college. But because of my observations, my creativity that really bloomed because of the experience, it was so easy for me to get a job in creatives. So that's how I got into advertising. In fact, they were teasing me. Advertising, the word has the word sin. And for someone from a convent or a monastery, isn't that so far from where I was?
And the Philippines had a cardinal sin too. There was a Filipino priest
You're
called
right.
uh,
You're very
Father
right.
Sin who became Cardinal Sin. All right.
Yes, yes.
Now, obviously, I'm curious about whether you found the answer or not. I'm going to ask you that later in the interview. Now, I'm going to
Okay.
come directly into your book. You talk about 5 types of clients, maybe more, and the ideal
Yes,
type of client, and you call that client the partner client.
yes.
So, using your sophisticated powers of observation, how do you spot a potential partner client?
First and foremost, sometimes it's not instant. It's an ongoing process. So the first time I've met some of my best clients in my advertising life, they hated me first,
Okay.
or we hated each other first because they were very demanding. They kept on talking in the beginning, and they did not trust us at all. You know how it is. They cannot let go of their brand just like that because they protect it so much. Of course, that's their brand, that's their life. And then here we are, cocky creatives, if probably to their eyes we just wanted to win awards, one-offs, do something pretty fast, initiatives, and that's it. We just want to play with their brands. But that's not how it was. Because what I do is because I observe very well, I could really sense how they feel in every single meeting. So maybe at first, there were some clients who terrorized me in the beginning. When I was presenting, they were very strict and they would raise their voice. And here I am, very young in the business. I remember this vividly. I was sweating so hard, so nervous in presenting. You know, our storyboards then were all drawn with ink. It will drop on the board and the ink will muddle everything up. And then the client was saying, "What's happening to the board?" And one look at me, they could sense the terror in me. After that, they would become nicer. And then they would see that I was working so hard for them to love the board. Eventually, they become nice to me. We become friends. And to this day, I could name all these clients who are very close to me because of the progression of how they could see me genuinely trying to sell the best idea to them. So it is not usually instant. Usually you earn their trust, and then you've also show how hardworking you are, just so you can how you work on their brands, because you're very, very concerned and genuinely concerned to build their brands. So that's when they become
At the
partners.
risk of upsetting your other clients, do you have a favorite client?
Oh, I do. I have favorite clients from Unilever. I have favorite clients from P&G. And all through my years, I would build that relationship. Some of them, now that I'm taking a break from advertising, went back to me, and I'm consultants. I'm a consultant to them. So it is they become my friends, lifelong friends.
Okay, for those creative directors watching this show right now, how do you transition a non partner client to a partner client? Is it possible, or are they fixed in their sort of roles?
I would say, I would be honest about this. Some clients would never cross that path into partner clients. As you've seen in my book, I would really name them. Like, for example, if they think they are more creative than the creatives, they will never open up that door that you at one point in time can actually give them a solution that they will be happy with. They will always think they're superior in terms of the thinking than any of you. At that point, you have a different tactic or a different way to work with them, but it's not to the level of partnership. Okay, so but I do respect that, because we are all human. But on the level of someone that is not a partner and it moves to being partnership, I think there is only one way to do that. You have to be real and genuine to them. You cannot fool them into something like doing something fast. And you know how we are. We do something fast for the glory of ourselves, not of their brands. But once we do that and they see it and they trust that, that's when it becomes a partnership.
Merle, in your book, you speak of the hard sell versus the heart sell, right? The book seems to imply that the heart sell method is always better. Is the heart sell method always better? Better?
For me, as a creative, I like doing hard sell. Maybe because it's very emotional. Again, in my background, because I like reading people, I like writing and looking at people's lives. Have a tendency to work towards the emotions, and therefore that's a hard sell. However, I'm not saying hard sell is wrong. I've seen the best ads out there that is pretty hard sell, funny, direct to the point, and yet, especially today when you're talking to a lot of generations where, like, for example, the Gen Zs who don't like being fooled and smarty with our types of communication. They want it hard facts and fast, direct to the point, straightforward. Making that entertaining is the challenge. And I feel hard sell today can can evolve into something more, engaging and fun.
How do you decide? This one is hard sell, that one is hard sell. What's the good rule of thumb?
I don't know if you remember, when you go into a room of clients, some clients will automatically love the hard sell. Oh my God, I felt so touched by the storyline, right? But some in the clients would be very logical. There are boxes to be ticked. Did you tick the first, that I am number one? Did you tick the one that we are superior in our benefit? So there are two clients in a room, usually. Then they would huddle. They would convince each other. So there is no wrong way of looking at this. So there is only the right way at the right time when you launch this ad.
All right, next question about programmatic ads. Once upon a time, we had this school of advertising called spray and pray. Make a 30-second spot, spray it all over television and all over media, and hope that the right target audience watches it, considers the product, buys the product, and becomes a customer. And then we had programmatic advertising, which said, now we are like surgeons. We clinically go to the exact target market. We'll find the people who are interested in your product or your category, and we'll serve the ad exactly to them. But multiple studies have shown that programmatic ads haven't really delivered on that level of surgical promise.
Mhm.
What's wrong with programmatic advertising today?
The word programmatic alone
That's
is the
problematic. Okay.
only because it's programmed. Okay. That one, you think that's your target market. So you put every single
Hmm.
communication for that target market. For me, the number one rule is be a consumer yourself before you become the media person or the marketer. Do you like seeing your ad? Number two, the consumer's way of life is changing. So programming it to them may not reach them at the right time they want to see it. So it doesn't automatically connect to a purchase because sometimes they get irritated by the way we do things. So when it is programmed, it has no heart whatsoever in the way we do things. So when there is no heart, we don't care what consumers actually feel about your ads programmed for them to see. So that's where the problem is. For me, that is the number one.
But you can't avoid programmatic advertising in today's digital world. So, what's a good way to do programmatic advertising?
Funny. AI is a little bit more advanced than programmatic ads because AI has already read how consumers act, how consumers, when do they look at this ad. It is a little bit more of a deeper understanding of consumers. So maybe if we push the programmatic way into a different sense of innovation where we truly care about how consumers consume our content, maybe it would be a little
So, a
better.
little bit of hard sell there as well in the programmatic advertising.
Yes.
Murli, you've spoken about three adulting decisions in your book, and one of them is to love the client. I have two questions here. One is fairly serious. Sometimes you and a client may just not get along. It's hard to love them. On the other hand, you've written in your book about a client who tried to harass you inside an elevator. And that's
Yeah.
serious stuff, right? So,
Yes.
love your client can't be the universal rule, can it? How do you manage that?
Okay. First, in the book, I said love a client, which is a very different from love the client. Love the client is like a force, forcing you to love someone. Love a client is you have a choice amongst all the clients you have. Pick one that you feel you can love. You can actually do genuine work because you want him to shine. When you give good work, the client shines. Also, the brand shines. Sometimes when I say love a client, it's not the person, it's the brand also.
Okay.
Because I totally
Company is your
believe,
client or the brand is your client.
yes, I totally believe in a product. I will do everything for the product to succeed. So for me, that is a number one rule when I was adulting. If I look amongst all our clients, who can I love? Because that is a way to showcase what I can do for a client. If I put my heart into it, other clients will see what I can do. Now, you've mentioned about the sexual harassment client. That client was our number one client when I first opened my doors, my agency. That kept my agency afloat. So killing that client, firing that client will definitely probably make us close our agency right after. But I was so lucky that my partners were men, but they were he for she's. When I told him about what happened, not a doubt, not a questioning about our revenue, about needing to probably hold salaries of people if we do it. We were three. Everybody said, let's fire the client. It's our biggest client then. And, I believe I was almost a nun, right? So I believe in prayers. And right after we were asked to pitch for the same amount of revenue kind of client, and we got it. So I feel like if you stick to your values as well and your beliefs, you can't forgo that. You
And
have to
was
choose
there
that.
divine justice served upon that client?
Yeah, he was out right away. I think it wasn't just me.
All right, moving on, Merlee. You made a list of predictions in your book, and I want to ask you about three of them in particular. You've said healthcare, podcasts, and mental wellness are going to be big trends in the future. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you mean by these three things?
If you notice, all of these three things I mentioned are very big to the Gen Z. I have Gen Zs in the house, my daughters, when they look at it, you know, podcast is just a normal thing that they listen to while they do gaming. You know how they are; they multitask with because they're tech dependent, so they have open frames, screens at the same time. The other one is mental health. If you ask people about what happened to us after, especially after COVID, mental health was such a big thing. People are not willing to go back to work sometimes, or people are not willing to be giving up the balance with life and work. They would rather resign because of mental health. I'm working with a lot of mental neurodiverse today, and I could see the damage that, imbalance of work and life can do and really affect your work. So all of this, I feel, is still going to be there, but also the new processes of doing work. It doesn't mean you're going to be less creative, less effective, but you've just got to think and find better ways of working.
So, you've made predictions about how the world is going to change, Merle. What are your predictions for how the agency of the future is going to change?
For one, we cannot be traditional in terms of the kind of offering that we want. We cannot continue to just offer what your clients know that you can offer. What I'm seeing right now is you have AI as a threat. How can you work better with innovation after innovation and tech? You cannot lag behind. The third wish for me is that we charge better. The businesswoman in me, we have not charged the right way. When I did global work, I've seen how it is in the US. And my gosh, we're so nice in Asia and it's part of the world. I feel that we are overworked and not being paid well. So if I say the future, this is the near future. We have to start doing this.
Tell us a little bit more about your work with the neurodiverse. Not everybody knows the meaning of the word neurodiverse. You run the Misfits Camp, a creative program for the neurodiverse. So, two questions. What does neurodiversity actually mean? And what can regularly abled creatives like you and me learn from the neurodiverse?
Okay. Neurodiverse is the neuro is brains, the way we think. Diverse is different. Now, while I went back to school to study because I was amazed by one little boy, 14-year-old boy, who was designing digital games like no other. I've been in the Dentsu, Japan office, all the tech thrown to me. I've never seen an amazing sight of someone with autism designing games. So I was impressed. So I went back to school during my free time and I studied autism. And I found out not just autism, but all the neurodiverse circle have very high grades on creativity. If you are in a depression mode, you dig deep on insights. If you have dyslexia, you cannot read, you're very good in visual understanding, and so on and so forth. Autism is memory and repetitive tasks. I've seen someone who's actually like an AI at work. I just gave one topic, he came up with 5 pages nonstop typing. So these are the kinds of neurodiverse, I call them divergent creatives, because I only work when after assessing if they do have creativity, creative skills with them. This point, I created a safe space for them. Every single effort in this country of mine on neurodiversity or autism, let's say autism, is focused on kids, developing kids, children. But all these kids have grown up, or most of them have grown up from school. Where are they? Nothing. So what I found out is they are doing nothing. They're just in their rooms playing games. Nothing, no future whatsoever. So when I started the safe space, I tried getting all of these people, adults, 21 and above, assessing their creative skills levels, honing their possible capabilities in creativity, and then later on hoping to connect them and making all our advertising friends aware because they need a future and a sustainable one.
Final question, Merle. You invented a word called Chairmom. What does that mean to you?
Well, when I started and I remember DDB was saying, you're going to be our chairman. And of course, I didn't like chairman. Okay, chair, what the hell is that? So I said, what exactly is my role here? I put together the values of the agency. I put together the discipline of the agency. I treat every single person. We made sure we're very small as family. So it reminds me of a role, home and at work, that I'm a mom. I'm a mom of 4 girls, by the way. So I feel like that reminds me all the time that I have to be responsible. I cannot do certain things because I need to be a good example to people. So reminds me of who I am in the agency. Down forward to the day, I'm the chairmom of Misfits Camp. I have to keep the place safe for every divergent creative out there.
All right, Merlee Jaime, thank you for talking to us at Melt, and we wish you all the best with this book and the future work with all that you do.
Thank you too. Thank you very much.
Now it's time for Creative Pick. Now you'll remember the controversy surrounding Apple's new spot for its iPad. Yes, the one in which a hydraulic press crushes a whole suite of analog creative tools to reveal a shiny new iPad. And even though Apple has apologized for the ad, it didn't stop the competition. Here's Samsung with a fast, cheeky reply. And with that, it's a wrap on Melt today. Keep following Melt on social media. The handle is Ready to Melt, or simply log on to readytomelt.com. If you'd like to follow me, I'm at Suvenk on X. Till next week, goodbye, and thanks for watching.